Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The subject of the discourse is Anta, the extreme forms of religious practices and beliefs. During these 3 months of rains retreat, Varsa, we undertook to, to conduct a series of talks on the first discourse of the Buddha, the Dhamma Chakka Pavatana Sutta, that is, setting in motion the wheel of truth. The Buddha gave this first discourse on the full moon day of Acharya, that is in July, the full moon day of July, on the 25th of last month. So we started this as a series. There are 5 very salient, important points in this particular sutta, because the sutta contains practically all the important teachings of the Buddha. The core teachings of the Buddha are to be found in this particular sutta. So we thought of, serializing this. Now we have been discussing in the last discourse, the last week, we have been discussing about the nature of extreme practices, because in this sutta, the Buddha starts the sutta by saying, Dve me bhikkhave anta, monks, there are these 2 extremes, namely, Kama Sukhallika Anuyogo, the devotion to the sensual indulgence on one hand, and devotion to self-mortification, Attakilimatthanuyogo, that is self-mortification on the other. Now, we have discussed much of it is in the form of introduction, so we won't recapitulate them, except wherever they are necessary we shall bring them. Now, Anta, the definition of Anta is extreme forms of religious practice, and they manifest in 2 very distinct forms. One is in the form of supposed religious practice, or practices in the name of religion, but actually indulging in sensual pleasures. They are one form of exercising sensuality and even sexual misconduct. Everything connected with kama, sensual indulgence. So all in the name of religion, and that being the case, they are accepted by the public, and not only that, there is a belief pattern that grows, that only through such perverted religious practices that one can achieve success in life. So much of these practices, extreme form of practices, are really connected with how to get this, how to get that, how to be successful, how to harm somebody, how to destroy somebody, all connected with worldly existence. And they have nothing to do whatsoever with religion in the best sense of the term. Religion basically is meant to create a noble human being. It is meant to ennoble the human mind, to sublimate the animal qualities in man. That is the purpose of religion, in the best sense of the term. Now, from the earliest time, in India, we have the Vedic religious practices in various forms. In the Acharya Sutta, how the Indian society evolved, you see, is given very beautifully, and whenever it is necessary we shall quote from that sutta. But now, in the Vedic time, there are various practices. There are two different streams of Indian culture, or you might even call them Indian civilization, the earliest ancient form of Indian civilization. Now the two forms, one is the Vedic Brahmanic form, Brahmanism, that is how it's called in philosophical circles. But you see, the better term would be a Vedic culture. Now there, or Vedic civilization, a society which grows, and the political system, the social system, the economic and other aspects of, you see, collective life, all that also is a part of the culture. And culture therefore includes religion, includes morality, and all different aspects of life. So in that earliest form we have in Acharya Sutta, the Vedic ritual, the earliest period of Vedic culture, it wasn't so ritualistic, or you see animal sacrifice and things like that which grew there, you see, later on. At the earliest portion, earliest period, it was more or less, you see, settlement, a settled life, you see, agricultural settled life, that stage. And then after that, how things evolved. So now, these religious practices that developed gradually through centuries and millennia, in fact, now some of them became so bizarre and so very perverted, they are disgusting, that there is no trace of religion or anything sublime in them at all. But they nonetheless they kept on. See, black magic and you see, extreme form of sensuality in the name of religion, tantric practices. All these are horrible practices, but they all go in the name of religion. Now I saw one TV program, I will just give one example. A TV program, this was when I was in Los Angeles, and there this program showed how in the name of religion, you see a whole lot of people, they mutilate themselves. That is, they injure themselves in such a way that they can't live a normal life thereafter at all. A young man on a certain day, this was in Kurd, it's called Kurdistan. It's a very large area in the northern part of Turkey and Iraq and Iran. Three countries, three separate countries, and the northernmost portion lived by just one, you see, type of people who are known as Kurdi. These Kurds, they have had a lot of fight throughout their existence, and the British got involved with them during the British period, and the Indian army got involved in that. So, the Kurdistan movement, it's still going on, I think. Now these people during their religious festival have something very important, what we call here Muharram and things like that. So now in one of those practices, they showed how a young man took a knife and just opened his, you see, removed his eye, made himself blind. He said, this I sacrifice as a part of my, this thing, to my religious head, religious prophet. Now this is in the name of religion, and he is something like a martyr. He became a figure of respect because of this. this kind of most bizarre religious practice. And now there are, here in the Indian subcontinent, there are countries, there are areas where people just strap themselves with bombs and they kill themselves and kill 100 or 500 or 1,000 people and destroy so many buildings around, and all in the name of religion. So in the name of religion, human beings have done horrible things, unthinkable things. So Lord Buddha, in his profound wisdom and the ocean of compassion that he was, he wanted that anybody who is seeking to become a spiritual person, a person who is liberated from all the sufferings of the world, a person who is liberated from the wheel of karma and punarjanma, rebirth. One wants to get out of the samsaric bondage and be exposed to the state of ultimate peace and ultimate tranquility of Nibbana, freedom from all suffering, and a state of bliss and peace. So in his search for that, he gave up his kingdom, gave up his family, gave up everything, and he discovered the ultimate truth by which he can reach this state and get out of the bondage of samsara. And there, after becoming an enlightened one, he remained for 2 months sunk in samadhi. He plunged into samadhi for 2 months and then remained in that state and emerged after 2 months, and then he decided to preach and make known his discovery for the benefit of the world. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya, lokanukampaya, hitaya sukhaya deva manusanam. For the good of the many, for the welfare of the many, for all the entire universe, for the benefit, for the happiness, for peace of all beings everywhere, whether human or divine, for the good of all. Because he found out that it is possible to get out of suffering. It is possible to get out of the bondage of worldly existence, which is characterized by suffering in some form or other. I have just mentioned one form, the Purdi form, or the terrorist form and all that. Buddha himself underwent when he decided to become a monk, and he left home and everything, and he came to Rajagaha, and there he was in the, Pandava cave, and fresh, a prince who has become the prince of spirituality. So when he was there, one day he found in a temple nearby, thousands of animals have been gathered in the name of the king, and then they wanted to have some medha, some ashwamedha, gomedha and all that. That was some kind of huge animal sacrifice for the benefit of the king or the kingdom or the people or whatever, some worldly benefit for somebody, and all in their temple. They were all brought there and they were going to be sacrificed, beheaded. Thousands of animals to be beheaded like that, and in the name of religion. So he was so profoundly moved. He went where the animals are, they were slated to be beheaded, in that block. This is where they tie the animal and then chop the head off. So he put his head right there. And he said, come on. He told those priests, their pujaris, if by killing these poor animals who are dumb and helpless, who can't talk, who can't tell about their sufferings and misery. If by beheading them we are going to become prosperous and bring prosperity to the king or to the kingdom or to whoever, let a higher being's head be beheaded and may let them gain from that. So as soon as you put the head like that on the block, those pujaris were so not only dumbfounded, they were so frightened they started literally kampanam, that is, they were trembling out of, a kind of fear generated by the moral power of the Bodhisattva, the power of compassion, the power of spirituality. So they sent, the temple managers sent a whole group of these pujaris to that ministry which under whom they worked. And this minister ran to the king. And king was Bimbisara. And Bimbisara, they went to look at a sadhu, a monk like that. We have never seen him. He looks like a prince. He's a wonderful person, so calm, so peaceful, so loving. He put his head on the block. So what do we do now? Immediately Bimbisara understood. He said, "Oh, stop all that procedure. Stop all that medha business. Stop it. I will find out who that person is." Then it was stopped, of course, and they took him out of it. He said, no, you don't need to kill yourself. The king will see you, and you better tell the king whatever you want to tell. We are doing what we have been taught to do. This is our religion. The Veda tells us to do this. Animal sacrifice, so that is good for the country. Big country needs a lot of rain. There is no rain here now. So kill and bring rain. What a logic. But these things go on even today. A fellow who is a chief minister, I am not going to tell who is he. This guy goes to Tamil Nadu, to a temple where I am told that is something, they are very famous for some black magic and all kinds of things go on there, including animal sacrifice, this and that. And this chap gives a big pad full of money and gets a puja done and all that, so that there will be rain in his state. Now, in what way is he different from those people in Bimbisara's time? No difference. This is a mentality, this is a belief system. So these perverted extreme forms of religious practices have, you see, at the bottom something else, some belief, some mental state, which is so very, I must say, bizarre and completely perverted, distorted mind, topsy-turvy mind. And there you are, the whole world goes on with this kind of practices. So Buddha said, look, if you really want to get enlightened, if you really want to be pure and noble and religious in the best sense of the term, start by cleansing your own belief system. Cleansing the mind of the belief system which believes in all kinds of foolish things like animal sacrifice, like violence. Then he gave, you see this discourse and the commentaries we have got, 4 bases of religious, you see, the distorted or extreme forms of religious practices and beliefs. There are 4 reasons for that, very specific reasons. One, panatipata, the belief in killing, destroying life in order to achieve something which is good for the people, for the country, for the king, for our success of life, and do all kinds of things, all in the name of religion. So, in the name of religion, when practices a very unwholesome practice like killing goes on, then the mind too gets distorted. People start believing in killing as a solution for life. No wonder then that India has undergone so much of killing and suffering, so much of these foreign invaders coming and destroying great institutions like Nalanda, wonderful universities with, where they had 7 libraries of 7-storied building, all that store of wisdom, everything burned to, ashes by fanatics who thought these are all, they believe in non-violence. So if you don't, it's not enough that you are violent yourself, but you must make everybody violent. And those who are not violent, make them violent or kill them. Look, these are the consequences of terrible, this extreme forms of religious practice. So one cause then is belief in violence. Killing, animal sacrifice, every religion, I must tell you. And unfortunately that includes Buddhism. But the latest form of Buddhism, the Tibetans believe it, and therefore they believe in this Tantra, this Tantrayana. They have got this kind of black magic, mantra, tantra and all that sort of thing. We will be mentioning this. So see how religion can degenerate. Buddha was the very embodiment of compassion and love, of non-violence and peace. And in his name now these things go on, and all in the name of religion again. So, the second cause is not just violence or killing, but it is even more, serious. It is looting, cheating, and misappropriation, corruption, all that. A kind of moral departure based on, let us say, stealing. What does not belong to you, you knock it off in some way or other. Adinna dana, in our terms, is the second cause for these extreme forms of anta, extreme forms of religious practices. That you can see. You go to so many temples here, there are all kinds of pujas going on and all kinds of rituals. I heard a devotee who had become, who is a very ardent follower of or he made out of Dr. Ambedkar, who became a Buddhist, because he was convinced that this is the only teaching, religious teaching or spiritual path that can solve the problem of his community from the most unjust and degenerated state of being untouchable and all that. So now this ex-untouchable, now a big officer, his daughter has to be married. He goes on telling, he quotes Ambedkar everywhere and makes out that he is He believes in Buddhism and all that. And then he goes to some pujari, he calls a pujari. The pujari gives a big list of this puja, this thing, that thing and all that sort of thing. 95,000 rupees just for the simple puja that the girl will have to be married. It's not even a fee for marriage, not even that. And gladly he gave that money. And he is supposed to be, one who doesn't believe in this kind of thing. So, believing something, acting in a certain way, that is something. Having profound conviction in some principles, that is something else. So Buddha wanted to be very sure. So he said, look here, if you want to hear the Dhamma, which liberates you from the sufferings of worldly existence, which brings about enlightenment in you and transforms your mind so that you can never become a victim of this kind of false beliefs and false practices, then you had better be out of this kind of perverted practices. So, here the second reason, first reason is violence and animal sacrifice. Every religion throughout the world, everywhere you have this. In the name of religion, lot of killing, lot of violence, lot of torture and all that. Then stealing, misappropriation and so on. In the name of so much of all kinds of rituals and rites, all kinds of external practices which have nothing to do with religion in the sense. Religion deals with mind. It should deal with mind. And not merely deal with mind. By intellectual knowledge you know so many things but you never practice them, so you get nothing out of it. But cleaning up of the mind. You clean up the debris which is lying in your mind, which you have carried from life to life for maybe from thousands and millions of years. You clean it up. That is the purpose of spiritual life. And it should be also for religious life to some extent at least. There is a difference between spiritual life and religious life. Religious life is at a lower level of cleaning up the mind. Spirituality is totally at a higher level. So now, this ritualism, rites, external practices which have nothing to do with a purification of mind, purification of morality, none of that. Purification of knowledge and wisdom, nothing. So, this is the second. The third is even more, serious. That is telling lies. Musavada in the name of religion and religious practice. You go to Kerala, I've been there, I've stayed there for more than a year, doing some sadhana there. My goodness, what a large number of people, very religious people with a lot of vibhuti in their head all the time, on their forehead. And all kinds of people are doing various rituals, various pujas, all sorts of religious practices and religious beliefs. All kinds of uniforms they will put on. Black cloth and this cloth and that cloth. All kinds of external, everything external. Nothing to do with cleaning up of the mind, purification of the mind. Now, in the name of religion, in the name of deities, in the name of gods, any number of temples and places where they say, if you give a sacrifice to your son or to somebody, this will happen to you, you will get this, you will get that, this success will come, and so much of money will come, so much of that will come. Or if you are suffering from cancer, that will go. All lies, 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 plain lies, in the name of religion. So this is the third reason, is the base for extreme forms of religion to prevail. They prevail. Nobody can stop. I was told that even today the newspapers, news do appear once in a way, where children have been stolen or taken or some such, some kriya, some Devi puja or some such thing has happened. The children died or the child died or something that kind. You see, some tantra mantra, some of these things have happened. All secret things. So, three reasons for the prevalence of extreme forms of religious practices and beliefs. One, violence. Two, cheating, misappropriation, stealing, etc. Taking what doesn't belong to you. Third, lying, plain lying. That is the worst form. And the fourth is by any means. You see, panchakama guna, that means anything which tickles your five senses. That means with the eye you see nice objects, beautiful objects, and you fall for that object. Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. These are the five senses. And connected with these five senses, in the name of religion, whatever, you see, whatever practices, you see, religious practice leads to pampering these five senses and even abusing these five senses. Now, for instance, Devadasi system, a kind of prostitution, is practiced in the temples, never mind elsewhere. These things go on even today. So prostitution, kamesu vichachara, the worst form of, let us say, mental defilement, where you develop such perverted attachment for the body and your sex madness, and thereby you perpetuate samsaric misery ad infinitum without an end. Sex life is meant, or it was meant, when human beings did not know what sex is. They did not have sex anyway. According to the Jnana Sutta, man, there was no such thing as man or woman at the beginning. They were just human beings. They were known as creatures, sattva, not even man or woman. Later on, as they fell in the ladder of evolution, so then this thing came that you see, man and woman got separated. Then they developed their, you see, the sex part of life. Then they became father, mother, and all that sort of thing went on much later. But then, by then they had damaged themselves sufficiently to know that this is a tool which can be destructive and devastating. So let us keep it only for regeneration of the species. meant only for the regeneration of the species. Otherwise, our species will be finished. We'll turn into animals. So now, this in the name of religion, how much of sexual perversity goes on is nobody's business. I have seen in the name of in my earlier religious life, you see in the Himalayas, they were having kirtan, and they got so frenzied with that kirtan. One young fellow and a young girl, they just embraced each other in the kirtan, and they say, "Oh, Krishna has come," appeared in their minds. They are having Krishna's love. Oh, what a wonderful thing! They are doing their Radha Krishna business here. So these young fellows were forgiven. But the religious person under whom this was done, that person was stern and didn't allow them to come anymore. That was very good. So, when emotion comes, the mind gets blinded. And many religious practices which are supposed to be wonderful, like bhajan and kirtan and this and that, are nothing but pleasing the ear and enjoying a good music. So in the name of music and religious music at that, you can indulge in sexual or sensual indulgences, sensual pleasures of all kinds. You can satisfy your sexual pleasures, your sensual pleasures, in the name of music, in the name of art, beautiful images, beautiful artistic products. In the name of religion, again, you can have wonderful cinema, wonderful music, wonderful drama, all kinds of natakam, you see, dramatic performances and all those things go on in the name of religion anyway. And they satisfy these five senses fully. So in the name of religious practices or practices connected or associated with religion, you see, or using even high-flown language, you see, where you say, oh, art, fine art, or this thing, that thing, you can still be indulging in sensual pleasures, kama. So, if you are really serious about cleaning up the foul debris which is inside you and become an enlightened person, go beyond sex, beyond sense, beyond kama. Be in that sublime plane of spirituality, of purity, of moral purity, to begin with, where all actions are, you see, morally purified. Then where the purity of mind, where the entire mind is purified through meditative process. Then purification of knowledge and wisdom, insight, through the practice of vipassana meditation and wise cultivation, wise yoniso manasikara, wise consideration, wise reflections of all kinds. There are spiritual practices, there are spiritual exercises by which you can bring about this purification of your life. Totally here and now. And Buddha guaranteed that, and he did bring not one, not two, not 100, not 1,000. Millions of people have become, beings have become enlightened, liberated from the sufferings of worldly existence. Longer you fester in samsara, greater the amount of debris kilesa you collect within yourself, all through your karmas. They're plain fact. And if you want to face your plain fact, then be honest. Then be prepared from the very foundation level of spirituality to follow the Panchashila. So then the Buddha said, look here, all these perverted, all these different, extreme manifestations of religious practices and beliefs, all that invariably leads to apaya, to the lower planes of existence, not even to the human plane. And even if you somehow or other you manage to come to the human plane because you have done some good deeds like dana, even in these religious practices which are perverted, there are people who do a lot of dana also. So because of that, you are born in the human plane again, but you have no eye, no ear, vikalanga, your senses don't work. Or if you have got an eye and ear and all the other senses, but you are a dumb fellow, you never understand what truth is. Even if the truth is presented to you in a very simple and clear way, you can't understand. Your mind simply will not be able to comprehend. That kind of person, to be born like that, has no meaning. So if you want to get out of samsaric suffering and these unfortunate, possibilities which are brought about in the name of religion by perverted views, or rather extreme views, extreme beliefs and extreme practices, they are known as anta. So the Buddha then started, he said the solution for this is middle path. Majjhima Patipada. Patipada is translated as path, but it simply means, a mode of life, living, a conduct that acts as a path. How can a conduct act as a path? What exactly is path? A path is where one must walk. A path is something which must have a beginning. A path is something which must have an end. A path is something which means motion, movement, which is in a dynamic state all the time, which is characterized by motion, action. So this way of life, Patipada, is a way of life, metaphorically it's a path, a dynamic mode of living, which amounts to a threefold training and a threefold development of the personality. Training and development, they go simultaneously. The more you train yourself, the more developed you are. So the training program starts with action, because life is action. Think deeply. What do you do from first thing in the morning till you retire in the evening? Whole day or the whole time waking, the hours where you are awake, you are doing something. You are either thinking or imagining or fantasizing, all kinds of mental activity, speculating, or you are speaking, talking, or you are, doing something physically. So everything, the threefold action, kayena, vacha, manasa. So the whole day or the waking, this way, when you are awake, you see, all that life means is action, threefold action. So life being action, start the programs, training program with action. It's as simple as that, as logical as that. So start purifying your action. Get rid of the tendency of killing, tendency of destruction of life and property, etc. No destructivity in your scheme of living. Give up killing. Give up stealing. Give up, it is giving up. It is refraining from. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. I voluntarily undertake to practice, to refrain. I voluntarily undertake to refrain or abstain from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, drinking, alcohol, and so on. Now this Panchashila, if one adopts the Panchashila, it's an ambrosial solution. It's an amritapana. It leads to deathless state, immortality. Here and now your life becomes totally different. Once you are free from the tendency to kill, or you don't kill, let us say, it is just the first stage. There are two stages here. One is not doing something. The other is doing something. Not doing means not killing, and doing means saving. Protect life. Go to the hospital, give dana, promote the health of people. In your house there are poor people coming. Don't throw them, don't say get out. Give them something. Practice generosity, practice charity. In whatever form you can give, you can do. Even to the worst enemy, go and give something. You will be free from enmity. So, on one hand you abstain from killing, on the other hand you promote the well-being of all life. There you don't say, no, I am going to do charity only for the Catholic or the Christian or the Muslim or the Hindu or the Buddhist or the Jain or this and that. Nothing doing. Give all, everybody. No discrimination whatsoever. So this Panchashila, every of these precepts, once you follow, there starts the training program and then development. Today we leave it at this. We'll pick up the thread. Next it will be Majjhima Patipada, the middle path approach to liberation. May the grace of Lord Buddha surround your lives with wisdom and well-being. May you be enabled to practice the Panchashila and purify your conduct, and that way purify the mind and make yourself happy here and now and make others happy. May you all be happy.